Hopefully you all survived last night's price action. We are going to be covering that in this video. Yesterday we looked at the effects of what Trump did on Friday, and we looked at Trudeau's response in regards to Canada's response to the 25% tariffs. They're now putting their own tariffs on. There's likely going to be an escalation. I think that's what all the fears are about. But people are looking at what's taken place with the cryptocurrency markets, which I ultimately think is a symptom of leverage more so than anything. We saw a record liquidation yesterday of $2 billion. Well done, ding dongs. We always get criticized for being so harsh when it comes to people trading leverage. Stop being mean is basically what people say. Well, we're mean for a reason. It's tough love. I do not believe, and I've watched some of the best traders I know that have been in markets longer than I've been alive try to trade crypto with leverage and fail miserably. So when I see retail trying to do it without any kind of proven track record, equation solved, even method, it's just trouble. And I can say I wasn't involved in that $2 billion liquidations. Hopefully many of you that watch the channel weren't. Certainly my entire community weren't. But people have got to learn. You know, those that don't hear have to feel. Anyway, we're going to be breaking everything down that's taken place. I'll be doing lots of videos later looking at specific altcoins that we cover regularly. Something like HBAR, for example, has had that retest of phase one resistance, now flipped into support. We've got continuation. I ultimately think this is a big overreaction in the crypto space, largely driven by leverage. And everyone's now looking at the stock market going, oh no, we're going to crash on all this tariff news. I don't think so. Could it sell off? Yes. But are we going to get that black swan crash that people have been calling for years now? Eventually they'll get it right. I don't think this is the catalysts for it. But of course, there is a lot of speculation on the back end of escalation due to the kind of tariffs that are going on. And we'll talk about all of that. Let's start things off. And I do apologize, guys, if you are some of the people that got liquidated and you're feeling down today. But I would rather you feel that pain and learn from it. And I maybe irritate you enough to learn from it than continue to do what to me is nonsensical. You'll make more than enough money just investing in this sector. A few $1,000s, pounds can change your life. Literally, I'm a testimony of that. I've been here since 2017 and did very well in 2017. Didn't learn to sort of take profits. The next bull market, I really cut my teeth. And now this one, I mean, despite this pullback, we're still up broadly, certainly on sort of 80% plus of my portfolio. So crypto market sees record $2 billion liquidation event. The cryptocurrency market experiences a significant downturn over the past 24 hours with over $2 billion in liquidations, making it the largest single-day liquidation event in history. Well done, ding-dongs. This event surpasses previous major crashes like those of the 19 situation, March 2020, which is insane, by the way, guys. And the FTX collapse. Bitcoin's price fell below 95K, reflecting the widespread impact on various cryptocurrencies, including Ethereum and Solana. Because of the severity, Bitcoin dominance obviously shot up. We have been looking at that rolling. But this is the biggest liquidations that we've ever seen. And I actually don't think prices look too bad. Certainly when we look at Bitcoin, I have no concerns with the Bitcoin chart whatsoever. We ultimately have a number of confluencing technical targets taking us to the upside. And actually, this is very much still just range bound. And you're just forming a range that ultimately, I think, leads to continuation, despite this being the worst day ever in terms of liquidations. Get them out of here. They don't need to play anymore. And they're not playing. And that's the horrible thing about when you get liquidated. And some people will put their investment thesis on liquidations. You're out. Whereas if you're just investment long, you can ride the volatility that is inherent with the cryptocurrency space and make money. And you're at no risk of getting liquidated. Whereas if you get liquidated, your money's gone. Your exchange just took your money. Thank you very much, sir. And it's your own fault, ultimately, I think, because you only need to be in the crypto space for a year or so to have gone through events like this. And we've been through many just in the past 2 years. And we're going to continue to go through them. But it's ultimately about keeping track of that broader trajectory that we're on, which we do through the weekly timeframes and assessing the charts. I did a great meeting with my patrons yesterday. If you become a patron today, go and watch that straight away. It'll put your mind at ease in regards to why technically we're bullish on the cryptocurrency space. Certainly one thing that I've looked at with you guys is the fact that we've just broke out into all-time highs and we're sort of retesting. And we've studied charts that have broken out into all-time highs into that price discovery. And crypto very much on that journey. You know, this is very common. This likely is going to set up some sort of a bull flag, sort of esque to what Bitcoin did here. And that's the total. And ultimately, we'll see continuation on the back end of that. But broadly, I think what's happened with the crypto space is on the back end of Friday's uncertainty introduced by Trump and a liquidation, you know, and that's ultimately caused downside for the crypto space as a whole to the degree. You know, you haven't perhaps got the buyers stepping in and it's just caused slippage and this is where we are. I do think we'll recover from it. I think something like, and I'll do a video on H-bar later, actually looks really good. You know, we've always looked at the possibilities of a retest of this phase one support or resistance, now flipped into support and then continuation. This might be the very catalyst that we need to move high. We're at a bit of a stall box here. We looked at this potentially being continuation. It's turned out to not be. But it's ultimately, you know, fulfilled that retest, which is very common with sort of phase one. So I think really we've just had an over-leveraged flush out. There's been a lot of things coming out over the weekend, which we're going to look at. Obviously, Trump on Friday announced, due to the illegal alien issues, that he was going to put, and there's been a lot that's come out, and we can't cover all of it. He put 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada. We looked at Canada's response yesterday. We'll look at their further response today. And he's also eyeing up potentially the EU and UK. And this is the thing, is the escalation. And do we enter this kind of tariff war where actually the kind of more global community or leaders like Trudeau get together and say, okay, now we're going to punish America and we're going to put tariffs on them. And this ultimately causes a bit of chaos. You know, is this short-lived? Isn't it? I think all the uncertainty is going to weigh on markets. And I think people, very much given how crypto's reacted, expecting the stock market to crash today, I'm not convinced. Let's go and have a look at some of the futures. So if we look at like the E-mini, for example, so the NASDAQ futures, down a little bit, but broadly, you know, not too worried. So a bit of a gap. It will likely close this. I don't think we're going to get, everyone's really kind of expecting a crash for the NASDAQ and the stock market today. I don't actually think we're going to get that. Yeah, they might open a little bit down. They've still not really closed the Nvidia gap. DeepSeek gap. But I think they will. But I'm not too worried. DAX opened down today. A bit hotter than expected inflation out of Europe. And also you've got news like this sort of coming in. Trump warns the EU and UK are in line for tariffs, but a US deal with Britain might be on the cards. Let's look at a clip of him actually saying this, and then we'll look at what Trudeau has to say, and then we'll finish things off with CoinShares report. European markets sink after fresh Trump tariff threat. Volkswagen down 6%. So there's disorder and chaos on the back end of all of this. Let's look at what Trump had to say just over the past 24 hours.
The UK is way out of line, and we'll see the UK, but European Union is really out of line. UK is out of line, but I'm sure that one, I think that one can be worked out. But the European Union it's an atrocity, what they've done.
Markets don't like uncertainty. A lot of uncertainty around all of this. We'll see what the resolve ultimately will be. And I think on that resolve, we'll get a continuation for the markets. Let's look at what Trudeau also had to say, and then we'll finish things off with CoinShares report.
Did you first learn that President Trump intends to increase tariffs if Canada retaliates, and how has that changed your strategy?
I think Canadians understand that we need to respond to this. We need to respond in a way that is appropriate, that is measured but forceful, that meets the moment. We're certainly not looking to escalate, but we will stand up for Canada, for Canadians, for Canadian jobs.
Watching that, you kind of wonder, okay, well, does the more globalist movement look to sort of band together and try and fight this and put pressure on America? And then what's all the catalysts of all of this? It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see how all this plays out. I think people in the crypto space are a bit annoyed with Trump on the back end of this. You know, he's supposed to be the savior. I think he's generally good for the industry. But, you know, we knew there was going to be twists and turns with his presidency. Again, I think people looking at the stock market today and really expecting some sort of an implosion. I'm not convinced that's going to be the case, personally. Gold doing well on the back end of this dollar up significantly today on the back end of all of this. We are still looking out for that Julian Bittle scenario. It's just a case of seeing how this week plays out. It's going to be an interesting week in terms of economic data. Digital asset fund flows. We saw $500 million in inflows, but trade, tariffs, and DeepSeek news influences investors. Digital asset investment products saw inflows totaling $527 million last week. However, intra-week flows reflect volatile investor sentiment, heavily influenced by broader market concerns such as DeepSeek news. Bitcoin inflows saw 486 million last week, while short Bitcoin saw second week of inflows at 3.7 million. XRP is now the second best performing altcoin, seeing year-to-date inflows of 105 million, with 15 million inflows last week. Now that is interesting, and actually I think we're going to actually see the likes of XRP potentially rival Ethereum in regards to inflows. But in regards to this week, guys, we're going to have to see how things pan out. I think really with crypto, it's just a leverage washout more so than anything. Yes, is this news impactful to the markets? But crypto's over-exaggerating it. Are we going to see a crash in the stock market? It's not my belief. Do we see a little bit of downside maybe on the uncertainty? Perhaps. But equity investors are half-glass-filled people, guys. And ultimately, we see that continuation in what is a broader uptrend. I think broadly for risk assets, we've just got to see how the sort of dollar rests, what progresses this week, what news to look out for. Just like we've had potentially bad or detrimental news, any good news is going to see the inverse reaction. So hang in there, guys. This just gives me more time to buy the cryptocurrencies that I think are going to do fundamentally extremely well. And from a price point of view also. And, you know, try and be as stoic as possible in what can be quite a trying time in the cryptocurrency space. Best way to do that is don't leverage. Invest, understand the broader trajectory of this space, and you'll do just fine. That's it from me, guys. I'm going to love and leave you. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you all in the next one.